Hello, and welcome to CAFS and Coffee Interview, where we discuss Class A, nozzle aspirated, and compressed air foam. My name is John Rhodes, a founder and site manager with compressedairfoam.com. And our guest today is Lou Durosa, he's a retired Madison, New Jersey fire chief. Welcome, Chief Lou.
Welcome, and thank you for having me.
All right, let's start off. Let's just give us a bit of your fire service background.
Retired from the Madison, New Jersey Fire Department, combination department, after approximately 40 years and 8 months of service to the town of Madison. Served as I started my career in Madison first as a volunteer, then hired as a firefighter, and then worked myself up through the ranks, lieutenant, captain, and eventually chief.
So what year did you start, and what was going on in the fire service back in those days?
When I joined as a volunteer in the fall of 1977, we got hooked on the show Emergency, and that kind of lit the fuse a little bit. My next door neighbor was actually a volunteer, and I actually saw him go flying up the street a few times to calls. And after talking with him about it, he said, "Why don't you come on and join?" And I did, and the rest is history.
Was that in the days of tailboarding and hippers?
Yes. 3/4 boots, fireball gloves, canvas coats, plastic helmets. The whole 9 yards. Riding the tailboard, riding the sideboards.
And what was your first engine? Do you remember?
The first engine that we dealt with, and in my department we had two brands. We had Hans, and we had Max. And the first engine, I wasn't assigned to any particular engine. It was whichever one showed up. The way we worked, because we were a combination department. But we had a 69 Han, we had a 72 Han, and then we had a 63 Mac Model L, and a CF in 80. Well, that came later on in 81.
And I suppose they had power steering, automatic transmissions, and air conditioning.
They had you had a double clutch everything, open cabs. What we called Mac-O-Matic power steering, where it was in your arms.
The good old days.
Oh, yeah. You didn't take it out of gear going around a corner.
So when did you become involved in foam, and how did you get involved?
Approximately 1996, 97, neighboring town of ours. The chief in that department was good friends with my fire chief, and they had got involved with CAFS, and we got, brought to a demonstration, got intrigued. They had, I believe, a Hale unit at the time, and we were speccing out a new engine, and we decided just to go with it, and it came down to between Hale and then Numax, and we ended up going with the Numax system.
And prior to that, did you use any Class A foam at all?
No, nothing at all. We had B foam, and we had a deputy chief that used to use it for everything but what it was intended for. So,
before you got the system, did you really have any knowledge on how they operated, or did you really know what you were getting into?
We had no knowledge whatsoever. In fact, when we first got the system, when we took delivery of the new engine, it was an E1, and when we made bubbles down in Ocala, and it looked great to us. They were pretty white, fluffy, and everything. We come back here, and at the time we had put in our bid specs to have some type of training, and actually Ray Fry came out from Numax and spent, I think, 3 or 4 days with us. And his first day with us, he went on the truck just to look at the installation and everything. And I can remember it as just like it was yesterday. He's on the creeper, and I could hear his voice under the truck going, "Oh no, oh no, class is canceled. Oh no." And so I had to go back to the shop. They had to make some adjustments. And then we started class with Ray, I think the next day or 2 days later, and kind of learned and got a little bit more of an understanding. And we were having issues over time. Come to find out, it was more operational issues, not mechanical issues. I had called and talked to Ray numerous times on the phone between taking delivery and when we finally got the truck implemented and in service to get it right. And that's about the time NewMax started the training program. And since I was on the East Coast, they kind of sought me out. And that's when I met Keith and Mark and got involved with the training program, doing it on the East Coast rather than them flying out from the West Coast. So, and we got proficient at it. So
what was your motivation to keep going with it? I mean, was it working for you?
It was eventually it was working for us, but my fire chief, basically, I was a captain then, turned to me and said, with all these problems we're having with calves, either figure it out or we're getting rid of it. So he put the pressure on me, and that's when I started doing a lot more research and talking to a lot of people. I think I might have even gotten introduced to Keith at that time, and asked a lot of questions. I'd call up and just, every time we had a little issue or something didn't seem right, but then we figured it out and got proficient, 2-to-1 ratios and stuff like that. And then we started getting good with aspirating foam as well, with Mad Dog nozzles and some Hi-X nozzles too for other types of applications. So
what was your first fire like?
Our first fire like?
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, you got the machine, not a lot of training. You go to your first fire, try to use the foam. Did it work? Did it work? Did you get foam everywhere but on the fire?
Oh, that was part of it. Nozzle selection was another part of it. We didn't quite in the beginning stages understand the importance of using a straight bore nozzle. We had always been using fog nozzles, and it was even with Ray's training, it was a bit of a culture shock, a change, so just because of that change going to straight bore, and things like that. Slug flow used to be an issue. Too much pressure on the hand lines. Things like that caused problems. So once we learned and got dialed in on it, we got good at it. And right now, all 3 of our engines that we have all have compressed air foam on
it. Other than the struggles at the beginning, did you have any personal successes or failures through the rest of your career with CAFS?
Once we learned it and understood it, we were having a lot of successes with it. In fact, being a combination department, our volunteers would take their personal vehicles to the scene, have their turnout gear with them, and they'd start their operation that way. We wouldn't muster at the firehouse like most departments, volunteer departments do. And we had a lot of good friends of ours say, this CAFS sucks. By the time I get there, the fire's out. So it was working very well for us. And even the cooling effect, we had guys on the attack line say, come out and say, I can't believe how fast the temperature dropped, comparatively speaking, with water and operations. So it's always been a positive. And we even got positive feedback from insurance companies as well, due to the lack of water damage compared to, fires in the past.
Were there any big surprises for you working with CAF?
Not any big surprises. Once we understood it, it just worked, and it just worked so much more efficiently compared to the plain old water. There were times And there have been times when we just didn't use compressed air foam, but they were for huge structure fires where we couldn't meet or exceed that critical application rate. And it was just, it was a weight, so we set up the big water, cannons, had the aerials going and beat it back, and then wouldn't use CAFS in the overhaul process, and even for exposure protection. So it gets its benefits. We don't have very much wildland scenarios. We're mostly structural firefighting with it.
If you had the chance to do it again, would you, and what might you do differently?
I definitely go CAFS. I think if you buy an engine without it, it's you're shortchanging yourself. To me, every engine should have it. It's that it works that well. But what I would do different, I wouldn't plumb my deck gun. We did that on the first engine. We didn't do it on any other ones after, because you're never close enough where that becomes practical. And for what it costs, you can set up a ground monitor and do the same thing if you had to. So things like that. And all our plumb all the pre-connects. That's what we did on subsequent engines, and no booster lines. If we don't have any, but if we did have any, I wouldn't plumb it with CAFS, because it just doesn't work. It works with Class A foam, but it just doesn't work with CAFS.
What is the most important message that you would want to leave behind for the fire service?
Well, be open to change. Don't be as resistant as it's kind of built into our DNA to be. But with regards to Class A foam and CAFS, you should have it and use it. Definitely, it makes a positive difference for the safety of the firefighters on scene, and for the overall operation as far as putting that fire out a little more efficiently. And the other big thing is with any CAFS system is the maintenance and running the system. If you're not a busy department, it's so important to run that compressor, flow air, and move product. Not a lot of product, just move it, because the day you need it, if it's been sitting for a long time, it's just not going to work. So those are like the important things I would say.
In your department, did you have any serious maintenance issues?
I would say no. Nothing where we had to replace major components. I think I had an expensive one would be a foam pro pump went bad on one after 15 years. But other than that, that might have been the most costly of it. We had some issues on a PTO drive unit on one of the compressors, but no big cost. It's just annual, it's fluids and filters. And if you stay on top of it and run the system weekly, you're really not going to have any problems, major problems anyway.
All right, well, great. Any final comments you'd like to make?
Bubbles are our friend.
All right. Well, thank you so very much, Chief Lou. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, and you're very welcome.